Good morning. How are you? Thank you for coming back. This will be my lesson, I believe it's number 5, and it will be for February the 15th. As you all know, Valentine's Day is the 14th, so don't forget that important date. That's not a biblical event, but the love portion of who wrote the book of love. But anyway, thank you again. I'm going to talk today about what I heard labeled troubling scriptures, and maybe troubling scriptures are one of the things that have caused people to not believe or to question their belief or even leave their practice of their belief. So I think it's important to understand a little bit about these things and not let them totally derail us in our searches for the truth and for the meanings that we're comfortable with. But anyway, the troubling scripture that I'm going to address is the one that has to do with the elect, E-L-E-C-T, and this basically is the people or the group of people who God has designated as his eternal, let's say, helpers, for want of a better word, but anyway, predestined to not be in Hades or wherever the bad stuff is. These are called the elect, and this is one of the foundation documents of the Presbyterian Church, the Calvin Church. By the way, not all Presbyterian churches believe in the elect or predestination. The Cumberland Presbyterian Church does not believe in predestination. But anyway, one of the churches I attended, and it was a Methodist, it was a United Methodist Church, labeled difficult scripture as troublesome or troubling, and one troubling scripture for me does involve the elect. I'm going to read you a few outtakes from scripture. I use the New International Version NIV Bible. I really like it. It reads so you can understand it. The King James Version to me is kind of troubling because the language is an older language that was used. But anyway, Romans 9:15, God says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I take compassion. In other words, God does designate some people. We don't use the word elect here, but in Ephesians, first chapter, 11th verse, in him, and him being God, we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything. So there's that word predestined. It's not something somebody made up. It is part of the Bible. In Romans 8:29, for those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the likeness of his Son. 1 Peter, 2 Peter 9th verse, you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God. Also in 1 Peter, to God's elect, strangers in the world, who have been chosen according to the foreknowledge of God the Father. So no one has made up this idea of the elect. It is biblical, and it is troubling. It's hard to believe our God, our Creator, in my beliefs, created us through a long process of the creation itself and the evolution to where we became what we are today. But it's hard for me to know that He created us and wouldn't know how our outcome would be in the earth outpressing or the earth experience. So it's a given that God knows the answers before the questions are asked. I think that's my opinion. So to have an elect or a chosen or a predestined people is sort of beyond the point, as I see it, because He already knows who His chosen will be. And when this subject gets discussed, they often say, yes, but we have free will. Well, so what? Guess what? God knows what our decisions will be in free will. If we have a choice, He knows what choice we will make. How can He not? He's omniscient, all-knowing, and that has to apply to everything. We are His creation. We are the outpressing of the Spirit, and we are humans who will do whatever God has designed for us to do. Does God know who will be chosen? Well, of course, God knows all things, but some say we have this free will to choose. Doesn't God know who will choose? Predestined to not being, if we are predestined to not being an elect, to not be chosen, do our efforts count? Do they mean anything? I mean, if we're already destined and known where we're going to wind up, if we're going to wind up anywhere, we'll discuss that at another time. One scripture notes a book that's in heaven, or that is kept by heaven personnel, that has the names of the saved, and there are 144,000 names in this book. I remember reading that years and years ago, one of my first passes at reading the whole Bible, and I thought, oh, how can that be? You know, there's like 7 billion people on the earth, but there will only be 144,000 people according to this book, and unless names were added since then. But at the rate they were going back in the year zero, 144,000, that's not too many. But anyway, that is scriptural. I can't cite the scripture. I don't remember where it was, but believe you me, it's in the New Testament, I'm pretty sure. It's troubling to understand an all-knowing God creating an elect or a predestined people. Calvin, the father of the Presbyterian Church, as I mentioned, stressed the importance of predestination, but I don't know how he justified or even explained it to his followers. I have no answers for election or for predestination, but the Bible has many references to it, more than those references that I cited. I have no answers for election or predestination, but the Bible has many references to it. Our faith should not be jarred by troubling scriptures. We continue to pursue greater knowledge and admit much is inconsistent with what we do know. And certainly predestination is probably one of those inconsistencies. There's a lot of them, and we'll have to deal with them, but that doesn't take us off the tracks of seeking the truth and doing what God would have us do in the light that is Christ. So that's today's perplexing question. If you got any comments, you can put them on my site. I'd be glad to have them. I'm not criticizing anyone who may follow predestination or the election of certain people. I know the Baptists have a concept of being saved, which I don't fully understand because I'm not a Baptist, but I think it gives some feeling or some belief that if we do the right things, if we live according to light and life and walk in the light that is Christ, and are baptized and filled with the Holy Spirit, that we will be saved in heaven. Will those people have to go through judgment? I don't know. I don't know how they deal with that. But anyway, interesting subject. All of theology to me is very interesting. And I do want to mention love. How many times do you think love is mentioned in the Old and New Testament together? And one consideration has to be, well, it depends on which version. There's a ton of versions of the Bible written at different times from different manuscripts in different languages. But the King James Version has just something over 300 references to love, the word love. And the New American Standard, I believe it is, has closer to 350 references to love, the actual word love. So the Bible is not a source book for love in the sense of Valentine's Day, but love is love, and it's an important part of life. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. That is 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 5. And then in the same place in verse 13, faith, hope, and love, the greatest of these is love. And of course we all know John 3:16, for God so loved the world, He gave His only begotten Son, that we would not die but have life eternal. And I'm just quoting it from memory. 1 John 4, verses 8 through 12, this is just one part of that. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. Since God so loved us, we ought also to love one another. If we love one another, God lives in us. We should love God. This is the greatest commandment according to Jesus Christ. We should love God with all our mind, all our heart, all our strength, and all our soul. And that again is just from memory. So, I hope you've had a good week. I hope you did or will do a nice thing for your special person. Enjoy the love that is all over the place. We just have to embrace it. And I'm going to play you a song. I don't know right now what song that is, but let's just see how I'm inspired to play. And I've got, again today, I've got the classical guitar. I think it's still working. Okay. Okay, we did a Beatles song last week, so I'm going to do another Beatles song. Beatles have some beautiful songs. If you have a favorite song you'd like me to play, let me know. Have a good day.